Gmail contacts and groups. In this video, we're going to walk you through the steps about how to be able to go into Gmail and be able to create contacts for individuals, and also about how to be able to create groups, very similar to what we are familiar with in Microsoft Outlook using distribution lists. But since this is Gmail, it is different than Outlook. It has a different name, and it also has some different functionality as well too that goes beyond necessarily just using it within Gmail, which I think you're going to find quite useful. We'll get to that in a second though. But let's go over and take a look at our email. And in our email, in Gmail, we have our normal emails listed here. In the top left-hand corner underneath the logo, there is a drop-down next to Mail. And when we click on that, we can get to what's called our contacts. There's another one called tasks. But when we click on contacts, watch how this is going to change. It looks very familiar to the Gmail, but now this is about the people that we are in contact with. And so under contacts, you can see here that I have no contacts as of right now. There's people I've contacted in the past, but they're not necessarily part of the people that I have designated. So if I click on most contacted, I can see that Claire is in here because we have emailed back and forth. But I want to start adding some particular people into my group. And there's a couple different ways in which that we can do that. We can type them in, or we can go through the directory about to see everybody who is there. Now, you may think the directory would be easier because we can just browse and find, but if I click on the directory, you're going to notice that this is going to bring up every single user within the district. And when I say every single user, I mean all of our users. And you can tell that we have differences between, we have our students and our staff within here. And if you can remember the idea about the first initial and last name, like A. Huber, that would mean that this designates a staff member. And that's Abby Huber there. But if you see a name followed by a dot and then a last name, that would designate that is a student. And so in this directory, this has everybody within here, students and staff. So if you want to be able to go browse and find somebody, it could be a bit of a challenge. So there's other ways in which to be able to get people into your contacts. And we can do that through searching and through simply just typing them in. So let's say I want to contact a sixth grade teacher at Sierra Elementary. And so I can go up here to the top and I can think about, I want to type in that particular teacher's name. So I'm going to type in the name Dodge here, and I can see here comes a couple different ones, and I can see these, some of them are students because I can see the first name dot last name. But then I see Marie down here, and I can see that hers is first initial last name. So I can now click on her and be able to say add to my contacts. And now even though that we're all in the same district, she isn't necessarily, not everybody in the district is automatically part of the people that I contact on a normal basis. And so by adding her to my contacts is now she's in sort of my circle of people that will come up as people that I am in contact quite frequently. And so I've added her into my contacts, but I want to be able to go a step further. I want to be able to add her into a group of teachers. Let's say if I'm in a PLC team based on my subject area or my grade level. And so I'm going to show you how to be able to do that as well, but in a different way here. So these are just my contacts. But what I want to do now is I want to start thinking about groups. Because if I go into a group, I'm going to type in, let's create a new group here. Let's say I want to be able to have all the teachers at Sierra Elementary in the sixth grade team to be part of a group. So I'm going to type in a name for this. And since it's a sixth grade team, let's call that sixth grade team. And then Sierra. Now the group has been made, but there isn't anybody in there. And it has now been added over here. Under my contacts, I can see I have one person. Okay, there's Marie. But I also have a sixth grade team, and there's nobody in there. And I can now be able to start adding people in a couple different ways. I can be able to go browse again and be able to try to find them, or I can be able to add them in here. So this is the easiest way. We're going to click on this little icon here about adding people. And I click on there, and if I type in Marie's name, I can see that she's automatically going to pop up right there. I can type her name and be able to add on. It puts in a comma, and I can put in who's next. So if I knew the people's names and initials, I can just start adding them in too. So I can say, okay, the other one is Mike Patton. So I could just type in his name. I will have to put in over here, since I haven't added him already, I would have to add him. I'd have to add in the complete email address at rocklandusd.org. Add that. And so now I have two people within the group. Now, let's say I want to be able to add one more person, but without typing in the name, I want to be able to show another way in which to be able to get somebody into that group. So let's say I want to be able to add a teacher named Mel Hildebrand. And so I'm going to search for her. And if I click on her, it's going to bring up her profile. And I can see there's her name, there's her email address, there's the photo. And if you can remember, we mentioned before too about how you guys can be able to add photo to your profiles. And so now I've gone directly into her particular profile, and I can now add. So look up here that the icons change to groups. So I can say here, I want to be able to take her and add her, check to the 6th grade team in Sierra, and hit apply. And now Nell has been added to the 6th grade team. So there's 2 different ways in which that we can be able to add people. So if I go back over and browse to my 6th grade team, there are the 3 people who are now within there. So that is now my group. Like I said, similar to like a distribution list. So how can I use this now? Well, let's go into my mail. I'm going to switch from contacts over to mail. And then from here now, let's compose an email. And instead of just typing the people in here, I'm going to now just type in the name of that particular group. So if I type in just the number 6, look what happens. Automatically, the group has been populated. I can click, I can select that, and they get dropped in. They get dropped in and by their individual names. But if I wanted to, I can actually go over here to, let's say, put them into a BCC if I didn't want necessarily to have them see them. So there's different ways in which I can be able to add them into different parts within an email. And I can be able to say, okay, here's our syllabus. Hey, team. And I can mention, here's the syllabus. Let's talk about that during our next meeting, and hit send. So a quick and easy way to be able to do that. But before we're done here, I wanted to be able to show you that the idea of the group that I created is going to transcend beyond this particular of using just Gmail. So I'm going to discard this email. Let me delete that one. And now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to go over to my drive. And when I'm in my drive, I have all my files in here. And let's say here's a syllabus for my 6th grade team that I want to be able to work with. And I finished making this. I want to share this with them. I could go into my email and do it, but and share with them. But I can do it directly within here as well too. So within my file, I can open it up, or I can go to right click and go to share. And it says, who do I want to be able to share this with? It could say enter a name or an email address, or it doesn't say it. I can enter the group as well. And so this is the nice part that transcends the distribution list. If I hit 6th grade, look at that, 6th grade team, all of a sudden I can click on that. And then now there goes the members of my particular group are now added. And I can add a note, hey team, check out our new syllabus, and I can hit send. So that's a fantastic part about creating those groups. It's part of your email, and it is also part of your Google Drive. Unfortunately, though, there's a couple things about groups we need to be aware of that don't necessarily apply. First off is that those groups don't apply when you start to do sharing settings in Calendar. So for Calendar, it does not work. And I also want to show you one more thing to be aware of, and that is for when you start thinking about going and doing your groups, many of you will think, you'll navigate over to the waffle, and you look at what are some of the other programs, and like, hey, here's Gmail, and there's Calendar and Drive. But you will notice there is an icon that says groups. If you click on this is going to look radically different from what I just shown you regarding the groups. Here it says, hey, there's my groups I can pick from, and there's other groups that are already out there. And for the most part, I want you to look at this graphic I made real fast. I want us to think, let's avoid the my groups for right now, because these are groups that we need to be created at the district level. And they don't necessarily have the same rules and connections that we have seen when you create them in Gmail. So for case in point, or for a rule of thumb, if you would, let's avoid going to the waffle and clicking on Google Groups. And it's a little unfortunate that they have named them the same things. So this is a focus about, like we said, thinking about the groups that are within mail, contacts, and then thinking about creating your groups over here. I think once you guys start realizing and start playing with the groups, you'll realize the power within them and how relatively easy they are to create and maintain.